I didn't lose the project slowly. I lost it in one sentence. Said out loud, in front of everyone who used to need me. The room was already quiet when he looked straight at me. No raised voice, no tension. That almost made it worse. It's best if you don't take part in this project anymore. No pause after, no follow-up. Just a clean stop, like a switch being flipped. The kind where everyone knows not to ask questions. I stayed still, hands folded, fingers pressing into each other too hard. Across the table, a tablet lit up. HR already had my name pulled up. Not searching. Ready. Someone a few seats down shifted, then slid their chair closer to the table. Not subtle. Close enough that I had to move my elbow. For half a second, my brain went somewhere stupid. Did I say something wrong last week? Then the real thought landed. Heavy. Clear. This was decided before I walked in. I nodded. I still hate that part. The nod felt like consent, like I was helping them make it neat. No one defended me. No one looked surprised. A few people avoided my eyes like this was contagious. I stood, picked up my notebook, and walked out before anyone could add another sentence that would make it permanent. The hallway felt longer than it ever had. My shoes sounded wrong against the floor, too loud. Or maybe that was just my head scrambling to catch up. The badge scanner flashed green when I tapped out. A soft, polite beep, still active, still allowed. For now, my name is Diana. I am 46 years old. I've been called direct. I've been called intense. Apparently now I'm difficult. Nobody said the word in that room, but it was sitting there anyway. Settled. Agreed on. Like a diagnosis. I left early. Not in protest. Not dramatically. Just gone. Like clocking out of something that had already been taken away while I was still doing it. If you've ever been cut without a warning, you know that quiet that follows. Not anger yet, not relief. Just this blank space where your body keeps waiting for the rest of the explanation that never comes. I didn't know what they were trying to take yet. I only knew one thing for sure. They needed me out of the room before they could touch it. The story you are about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team at Revengeaita. While inspired by real workplace dynamics and emotional experiences, all characters, companies, and events have been dramatized for storytelling purposes. That night, sitting alone with my laptop still closed, I told myself it was over. I even believed it for a moment. The word didn't come from nowhere. That's what bothered me most. Once I was home, sitting at the kitchen table with my phone face down, the meetings started replaying on their own, not the big ones, the small ones. The throwaway comments people think don't count. A slide would go up. I'd lean forward. Are we sure this timeline works? Someone would exhale through their nose. Not loud, just enough. Another meeting. Different week. I pointed at a number that didn't add up. Silence stretched. Then a voice from the far end of the table. We don't need to overthink it. Overthink. That was another favorite. There was the time a manager laughed. Light and friendly. Like he was doing me a favor. He tilted his head and said my name the way people do when they're about to soften a blow. Diana likes to complicate things. A couple people smiled. Nobody corrected him. Later, in a hallway, someone tried to make it sound supportive. A hand on the doorframe. Lowered voice. We just need team players right now. I remember staring at the carpet, noticing a dark stain shaped like a shoe. My mouth opened. Closed again. Another time, after I flagged an issue that would cost real money to fix later. Someone waved a hand without even looking at me. You're technically right, but the rest didn't matter. The but did all the work. Let's not slow this down. That one came with a look that said I was being difficult on purpose. Like I enjoyed this. Sitting there alone, I did something I hate admitting. I wondered if I should have shut up more. Smiled. Let things slide. Let mistakes belong to someone else. The thought made my stomach twist. Not because it was wrong, because it almost made sense. At a red light, my phone vibrated once. My heart jumped anyway. Spam. Some fake alert trying to sell me something I didn't need. My hands were still shaking when the light turned green. I wasn't loud in those meetings. I wasn't cruel. I was careful. And somehow that had become the problem. By the time I pulled into my driveway, the word had settled in my head like it had always been there. Difficult. They hadn't used it today. They didn't need to. That night, I opened my laptop even though I told myself I wouldn't. Muscle memory. Same files, same folders. The part of the project nobody ever talked about out loud. Not the slides, not the demos, the bones, the workflow everything else latched onto. The thing that decided where data moved, who touched it, and when. The part that broke quietly if it was wrong. The part I built while everyone argued about colors and timelines. I remembered bringing it up once. Early on. Not dramatic. Just careful. We were in a small room then. Whiteboard already crowded. I pointed at the diagram and asked if we should log authorship while we were still early. Not for credit. For tracking. For safety. A chair scraped back. Someone laughed. Like I'd made a joke without realizing it. Why came back at me? Friendly tone? Brows raised. Do you not trust us? The room shifted. Not hostile. Worse. Uncomfortable. Like I'd accused them of something rude. Another voice followed. Lighter. Don't worry about credit. We're a team. Team. That word always sounded warm until it didn't. I let it go. I nodded. I hate how often that comes up. I told myself it wasn't worth slowing things down. That trust mattered more than receipts. That piece was better than proof. That one's on me. I own that. Because now, staring at the same files, I could see exactly where my name stopped appearing. Comments stripped out. Notes absorbed into something cleaner. Mine, but not marked. The laptop fan kicked up. Louder than usual. Like it was working harder than it should. Or maybe that was just how it felt to me. I clicked through version history. One change after another. Each one building on something I recognized too well. This is where people like to tell you that you should have protected yourself earlier. I know. You don't need to explain it. I've already replayed it enough times. I closed the laptop without saving anything. Not panic. Not yet. Just a heavy understanding settling in. They hadn't needed my permission to move forward. They just needed me not to be looking anymore. I didn't take the elevator with anyone else. I waited until the doors closed, then hit the button. Ground floor. My reflection looked wrong in the metal panel. Like I'd already left and my body hadn't caught up yet. Outside. The air hit my face hard enough to sting. I kept walking. Past the corner. Past the place where people usually slow down to check their phones. I didn't check mine. Not email, not messages. I knew if I opened anything, I'd start explaining myself to people who weren't listening. By the time I got home, my shoulders hurt from holding them up all day. I dropped my bag by the door and sat on the couch without taking my shoes off. The laces pressed into the tops of my feet. I let them. It felt deserved. Somehow, I told myself it was done. Clean cut, no drama. I'd update my resume. Call a recruiter. Say the right things. I practiced a few lines in my head and hated all of them. The radiator clicked on, then off. On again. Over and over. Like it was keeping time for something I wasn't ready to hear yet. I stared at the wall and let the noise fill the room. A message preview flashed on my phone when the screen lit up on its own. I turned it face down without reading it. If you've ever convinced yourself something's finished just so you can get through the night, you know that move. It's not strength. It's survival. I stood up and went to the kitchen. Poured a glass of water. Didn't drink it. Put it down. Picked it up again. My hands felt restless, like they were waiting for instructions. I finally took my shoes off, one at a time. Lined them up the way I always do. Normal habits trying to pretend nothing had changed. I went to bed early. Lights off. Phone still face down on the table. I lay there listening to the radiator count. Whatever I'd walked away from that afternoon wasn't done with me yet. My phone buzzed at 9:12 in the evening. Not a ring, not an alert. Just that short vibration against the table that makes your stomach drop before your brain catches up. I stared at it for a second longer than I should have. Told myself it could wait. That whatever it was belonged to tomorrow. I picked it up anyway. The voice on the other end came through too fast. Like they'd been holding their breath before dialing. My name landed first. Careful. Quiet. Diana. Have you seen the internal news? I stood up without realizing it. The room tilted a little. What news? There was a pause. Not dramatic. Just air moving, breathing that didn't want to be heard. They pushed something live an hour ago. The voice said, lower now. Compliance update. Partner visibility. My chest went cold. Not fear exactly. More like the moment before it. The moment where your body decides something is wrong before you've caught up. And they added, slower. Your name is everywhere. I dropped the phone. It slipped straight out of my hand and hit the floor with a dull sound. I stared at it like it might crawl away. When I picked it up again, I used both hands. Like it might fall a second time if I didn't. Everywhere how. I managed. A breath, then another. Authorship fields. Submission logs. The core framework, they didn't scrub it. Or maybe they couldn't. My head filled with noise. Lawsuit. Blame. Damage control. I pictured my inbox exploding. I pictured my name attached to something I was already being pushed out of. My throat tightened like I was about to be sick. I thought they cut your access. The voice said, everyone did. So did I. Silence again. This one heavier. They're scrambling, they finally said. People are asking questions. I leaned against the counter and pressed my forehead into the cabinet. The wood felt cool. Solid. Real. That stretch of time before you know whether news is about to ruin you or save you is pure hell. No answers. Just your pulse beating too loud in your ears. I need to check something, I said. The words came out steadier than I felt. Yeah, they replied. I figured you would. The line went dead. I didn't move right away. I just stood there with the phone in my hands, understanding one thing very clearly. Whatever they thought they'd finish that afternoon had kept going without them. I logged into the portal, but not through my deactivated employee account. I used my credentials as an independent compliance auditor, a role I had insisted on in my contract 2 years ago to ensure data transparency. The dashboard loaded. Everything was intact. I clicked into the audit trail. My pulse slowed as I scrolled. Every core entry listed the same thing, creator Diana Sloan. Digital signature verified. They had scrubbed my name from the slides, but they couldn't scrub it from the metadata. I had embedded my identity into the very marrow of the framework. If they attempted to overwrite or delete it, the project's security certificates would self-void, and international partners would immediately receive an untrusted data alert. The system didn't care about politics or who had the bigger title. It didn't argue, it just recorded what happened. And the name Diana Sloan stood there, patient as a ghost, staring directly at their lies. I didn't call the CEO. I stared at his contact for a full minute. Thumb hovering, then locked the phone and set it face down. The urge to explain myself came fast and loud. I let it pass. I didn't write the long email either. The one that starts calm and turns sharp halfway through. The one that lists dates and names and ends with something you can't take back. I opened a blank draft, closed it. Instead, I sent one thing. Documentation, no commentary, no adjectives, just the audit trail, the authorship records, the timestamps that didn't blink when pressure showed up. I attached the files the way they were meant to be attached. Clean, complete. Before I hit send, I called the advisor who'd helped me once before. Back when I still thought this company listened, we didn't waste time. Do you want to escalate? I wanted accurate. A pause, then a quiet acknowledgement. Not approval, not caution. Understanding. I forwarded the package to compliance and copied the external review address they couldn't control. I didn't add a subject line that tried to be clever, just the project name. Nothing else. My hands were shaking now. That surprised me. I thought the calm meant I was past that. Turns out calm and shaking can live in the same body. Part of me wanted to scream, to force them to hear me the way they never had in those meetings, to make someone admit out loud that this wasn't a misunderstanding. Another part of me wanted something different. Slower. Cleaner. I wanted them to keep talking, keep moving pieces around, keep pretending the trail would blur if they walked fast enough. I listened to that part. The email sent sound was soft, final, not dramatic, just a small confirmation that something had left my hands. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. It's bait. I know that now. I stood up and walked away from the computer before I could undo anything. No pacing. No second guessing. Just space. If they were going to pretend I didn't exist, they were going to have to do it while staring straight at my name. The most important presentation of the year started without me. I knew because the calendar reminder popped up on my phone. I had been kicked out of the room, but my presence was still there, lurking as a technical roadblock. My phone began to vibrate. A message from a former colleague flashed their stalled. I pictured the scene, the department head, the man who fired me standing before the major partners, confidently presenting the system as his own masterpiece. But when the partners requested a source authenticity check, the system automatically scanned and projected onto the large screen primary author Diana Sloan. Status access terminated. Warning, intellectual property compliance risk. The room went silent. Suspicious glances turned toward the leadership. They couldn't proceed without explaining why the person who built the project's heart had been shadily removed. They tried to put on a play, but the truth was an actor who refused to leave the stage. The call came late enough that it felt intentional. Not rushed, not desperate, just late. I answered on the third ring. The voice on the other end sounded different, slower, careful, like each word had been tested before leaving his mouth. There's been a misunderstanding. I lay back and stared at the crack in my ceiling, the one that looks like it might spread if you watch it too long. No, there's been a record. Silence followed. Not the awkward kind. The kind where someone is recalculating. We value your contributions. Came next. Softer now. The situation escalated faster than anyone expected. I didn't move. I didn't interrupt. Let him keep talking. People reveal more when they're trying to fix something they already broke. We'd like to discuss next steps, he added. Possibly getting you back on the project. Back. Like I'd stepped out for coffee. I thought about the room. The chair sliding closer. The tablet already open. The way nobody met my eyes. I felt the old heat rise for a second. Sharp and familiar. It passed. I'm not coming back under the same terms. Another pause. This one tighter. We can be flexible. I already was. The crack in the ceiling didn't change. Neither did my voice. That surprised me. I'd imagined this moment differently. Louder. Meaner. Something dramatic enough to justify the days leading up to it. Instead, there was just clarity. We'd need to move quickly. He said, partners are asking questions. I'm sure they are. A breath on the other end. Controlled. Professional. Frustrated. What do you want? I didn't answer right away. Not to make a point. I just didn't know yet. The job had taken up so much space that I hadn't figured out who I was without it breathing down my neck. I'll let you know, I said. Not tonight. The line stayed open for a second longer than necessary. Then it went dead. I didn't hang up and sit there shaking. I didn't feel victorious. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, realizing the thing I'd been fighting for wasn't what I thought it was anymore. I took a consulting offer 2 weeks later. Different building, same city, smaller team, clearer boundaries. They didn't pitch it like a rescue. They laid the work on the table and waited. That mattered. The first morning I started, rain had just passed through. The pavement smelled dark and clean, like something had been washed without asking permission. I walked the longer way on purpose. Past my old office. The glass still reflected the street the same way. The door still open for people who belonged there. I didn't go in. A message came in mid-morning from someone I used to sit next to. No apology. No explanation. Just a line that felt heavier than it looked. They're still trying to figure out how you kept control. I let it sit. I didn't answer. At the new place, a director slid a document across the table and waited for me to read it. No rush, no sighs. When I flagged a risk, the room stayed quiet in a different way. Not defensive, listening. Can you show us where this breaks? Someone asked. I did. We adjusted. We moved on. That night, I walked home instead of taking the bus. The air still held that wet smell. I felt tired in a clean way. Not drained. Used. I'm not healed. I still flinch when meetings get too quiet. I still hear that word sometimes, like it might follow me into the room. I'm not bitter either. That surprised me more. I don't have a clean lesson for you. I wish I did. What I have is this. When you're labeled difficult for paying attention, stop trying to become easier. Protect the record. Choose rooms where your work doesn't need defending. And remember that silence can be strategy, but only if you're clear about why you're using it. I'm still deciding what I'll build next. For the first time in a long time, the space around that decision feels like mine.